Hello and welcome. This is the Kestrel Country Podcast, where we discuss the people, places, and events all around Kestrel Country. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Kestrel Country Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Church, and I'm joined as always by my lovely wife and co-host, Catherine.
Hello, hello.
Today we've got a fun interview with Brandon Allen, who's a local lender or a loan officer with Summit Funding. We talked to him about a little bit of everything. Growing up in southern Idaho, ranching and farming, his transition into finance, his move to Moscow, and kind of what it's been like getting to know Moscow and the area and the people, and what he's been involved with. So it really ranges for a lot of topics into some financing for real estate as well. That's a fun interview, and we'll get to that in a second. First, though, let's talk about a couple of kind of what's going on in and around the area right now.
Coming up at the end of February is the Lionel Hampton Jazz Fest, February 28th through 29th. And you can get tickets from the U of I if you're interested in going to that. That always brings a lot of people to town, too. So those weekends can be a little nuts at restaurants and whatnot in town.
Yeah, that's been going on for a long time. So
a long time.
Good to see that still going. As far as outdoor activities, we still are seeing intermittent snow, a lot of wet, but it's the time of year to be out looking for sheds. So I know Jed Whitling in our office has been doing a lot of shed hunting, and also steelhead fishing is open as well. So there's still a little bit of steelhead fishing going on. And then also just the real estate market. Obviously that's what we do, is real estate, and it's been really hopping. A lot of stuff starting to come on the market and flying off the market just as quickly as it comes on. So really hot real estate market, and as always, we'd love to help you out with any of your real estate needs. Without further ado, though, let's get into the interview with Brandon Allen. So, Brandon, thanks again for joining us. For those of you who don't, or for listeners who might not know you, give us a quick rundown. Who are you?
Yep.
I can tell them why you're here, but...
So I'm Brandon Allen. I'm a mortgage loan officer with Summit Funding, but really I'm just another community member of Moscow, and a father and a husband, and somebody who is just trying to pursue excellence in every area of my life, but just another guy here in town trying to make a difference.
Okay, when did you move to Moscow?
So I moved to Moscow in 2016 to manage U.S. Bank downtown, and that was the only reason I came. So I had a friend who was the branch manager of the U.S. Bank over on East Side, and he said, hey, we were friends for a long time before that. He said, hey, I've got an opening coming up. Do you want to, maybe try to move up here? It's a great little mountain town, and so the family and I were like, absolutely, let's do it. So
had you ever been to Moscow before that?
No.
Wow.
Never moved.
So did you move sight unseen, or did you come up, interview, check out the location, and decide this is worth it?
Yeah, so my interview was over the phone. The only reason I came to Moscow 3 weeks before my start date was for my previous employer. We went up to a retreat in Spokane, and we drove through Moscow to get there, and I thought, wow, this is what it's going to be like. It was so magical, actually, when you come down, when you're coming from Troy and you're dropping down and you're hitting Washington Street, it was awesome. I just thought, this is the cutest little town. The trees were in full bloom, so it was really, really pretty.
But you're from Idaho, though, right?
Yeah, born and raised. Well, I was actually born in Nevada, but raised in Idaho since I was 2.
Okay. Where in Idaho?
Down in Boise. Yeah, so specifically in Meridian, I spent 16 years there, and then moved to Caldwell for the last 2 years of my high school experience. It's a lot of fun.
Well, and then I don't know how many people know this about you, but one of the things that I think is super fascinating is what you were doing before banking in Eastern or Central Eastern Idaho.
So
tell us about that.
Sophomore to senior year of high school, I spent farming. So my stepdad had ties to agriculture. My family had a big farm, about 5,000 acres spread out from Murphy to Weiser, which is about an hour and a half drive. And we were doing dairy quality alfalfa. So I spent most of my time baling or, untying knotters that were all screwed up in the summer times, and just trying to help the family out on the farm. And then after I graduated high school, moved to Chalice and helped get a couple ranches started under new irrigation, and that was a lot of fun. And that's really where my passion lies.
Is ranching.
Is ranching, farming specifically. If it has a heartbeat, I'm not too good with it. But if it has a motor and some oil, I'll be all right. And that's really what I love doing.
How did you switch over into finance?
Actually, it was kind of an interesting scenario. So my wife and I got married, moved to Chalice. A year and a half later, had our first daughter. And the ranching life, as you guys are well aware, is pretty laborious, labor-intensive, long hours. And my wife didn't grow up ranching, so it wasn't a family activity. It was a job, and it was my passion. And so it was pretty selfish of me to spend 15, 16 hours a day away from them. And I didn't see Ezra, my oldest daughter, for 6 months, really, it seemed like. Spent, a couple hours on a Sunday morning, but that was about it. So realized I needed to do something different. I needed some benefits to support my family and protect us. And so I looked for the only other job in Chalice, which was in banking. There was 2 banks, a credit union and a bank, and got picked up. Luckily, I had no experience in finance, no experience in customer service, really. And it was a real shock. Friday, I took off my Wranglers and boots, and Monday I put on a suit and tie, and away we go.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't think I realized that you'd started in Chalice in banking.
Yep, Wells Fargo as a personal banker. And it was a lot of fun. I was rough around the edges, that's for sure. Finance has helped me become a better father and friend and communicator and community member. But being able to have the background in farming where you have strong ties to your neighbors, everybody's helping everybody out. If cows get out on one farm, 30 miles away, we'll all load up and go help them get back in. Or, if somebody's combine goes down, we're all going to pitch in. So it gives me a really unique perspective to the finance industry, I think, and especially in a town like Moscow, being able to just add some value from a community perspective, which I think a lot of financial institutions have a struggle with.
Well, especially Moscow being such an agricultural town, we're that mix anyways. Plus, the farming life, like you mentioned, is incredibly hard.
Yeah.
And so having that ability to do hard work and transfer it over into another industry, that's really fun. So how many years total in Moscow now?
So 2016, we're going on 4 years in May.
Okay. And you've jumped right in, and so has your wife.
We've tried. Yeah, we've been really intentional to create community. We have no family up here, so we knew that if we wanted to make the most out of our time in Moscow, that we needed to grow strong friendships and invest in the community that we live in. And it's really taught us a lot about just the benefits of being an engaged community member and finding value in growing relationships with a wide array of demographics and political views and religious views. And, Moscow's pretty diverse. And so we've found friends in every nook and cranny, it seems.
Has that been for somebody moving in here? Did you find that, how did you find Moscow is really welcoming that way? Getting involved? Was it kind of work to figure out, hey, here's some opportunities for us to get involved with the community? Or was it kind of like, man, there's so many opportunities, we don't even know where to start?
Yeah, that's Moscow has its core, and they can smell if you're an outsider. They just look at you. You go to the co-op and people are like, he's not from here. And I wasn't a student, and so that's what everybody thought. I look like I'm 12, so I fit into the student population, and they found out that I wasn't a student, and so that's when folks started to take a step back. And there was some natural apprehension when they find out you're in finance and work for a big bank. But then just having the opportunity, I felt like people were really open once we pressed through just the initial newness of it all. But it really came down to one individual that helped me a lot, which was Jenny Ford at the Chamber of Commerce. And I just asked if I could get coffee with her and understand what the Chamber did and some contacts that I could make really from a professional perspective first. And then I found so much, intrinsic enjoyment from that it just kind of blossomed from there.
That's
really cool.
Fun.
So I want to go back briefly to what you just said about some apprehension when they found out you're in finance or a big bank. Why is that? Do you think is it like, oh no, he's going to try to sell me something?
He's just here to sell us. He's not really our friend.
Yep.
How do you think you get past that barrier? Because the same thing is true in real estate. I mean, I think a lot of it's in our own heads a lot of times where people aren't so apprehensive, but we just feel like, oh no, they're going to think I'm selling them something.
Right.
Yeah. So how do you get past that?
Is you add a disproportionate amount of value without asking anything. So the reason I asked Jenny Ford to get to go to coffee was just to find out, who are some contacts that I can have. But then during our conversation, I found out that Moscow had a need that could be filled. And so the majority of our conversation was spent talking about how I could invest in Moscow's success, and specifically around youth engagement in civic activities. And that was the first conversation we had. And then at the very end, I said, hey, I just forgot, the whole time that we were here, but do you have any contacts that I could make? We're trying to expand our community and our network. And she just started lining us up. So I think it's about that. But you mentioned a good point, and I say this often when I have clients that are naturally apprehensive to speak to somebody in finance. It's often like going to the dentist. You get to see all of the gross stuff that you don't want to talk about. And
you get in trouble for not flossing, or, it
Exactly.
is, especially with finance, it's incredibly personal.
Right.
So you're like, yes, here, come take a look at this. And I know this is not good here, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes complete sense.
And as consumers, we're always, just as people in general, we're always fearful of rejection. And so when you start to talk to a realtor, I say this is the sexiest part of buying a house is being with the realtor, because you get to go out and experience the home. You get to feel all the cabinets and the new carpet, or whatever the situation is, and start to daydream about your life there. And then when you go to talk to somebody in finance, you realize that there's a danger of not obtaining that dream. And so it's really interesting to just kind of overcome the apprehension at first and start to develop an actual relationship, which is the goal of the whole process.
Yeah, so people do seem scared to talk to financial people a lot, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And I think intimidated also by just the process, the loan process. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of just unknowns, like it's a black box to people. What are some things that people could think of to put themselves at ease? Or like, what would you say to somebody who's like, I don't know, it seems unattainable to me, or I don't know, I've got history, credit issues, whatever. What would you say to somebody to get them just through that and past that initial apprehension and into the process?
Sure. This is not just a selfish pitch here, but talk to somebody who's local, that has relationship in town. And the reason I say that is because they're invested in your success, especially in a town like Moscow. If I'm walking down the halls or the aisles of Winco and we see each other, I don't want that person to turn around and go the other way because they don't want to make eye contact, Here's the thing. Most lenders are going to be yes-minded. And it's going to never be a no, it'll be not yet if there is some challenges that have to come. And lenders are equipped with enormous amounts of tools that can help educate buyers that might be in a troubled financial situation on how to overcome credit issues or a lack of assets, or even help guide them into a new area of income. It really is just coming from a place of advocacy for that person to reach their goal. And I would say most lenders have that mindset. So it's not as scary as it thinks, but let's think about why why do you not want to go talk to somebody about your finances?
Because of, either you don't want them to know maybe how successful you're not, right? I haven't been keeping good enough records of this or that, or,
Yeah.
I think you're right on with the rejection. It's that you don't really want,
Well, it's kind of like day one at the gym, right? You don't really actually want to go in or step on the scale and find out that the pain at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I think your point that it's not a no, but the not yet
Yes.
is key, because it's like, okay, so say that number on the scale, back to the gym analogy, is not what you want it to be or whatever. Well, the only way you're going to improve it is by just dealing with it and facing it, rip off the Band-Aid.
That's right.
And then make a plan. But otherwise, if you just sit there, worry does no good at all.
Right.
And so then you just sit there and get worse and worse and worse. And the same thing, with your finances.
Well, I think too, I wonder about it just as, I don't know if it's an American thing, if it's a Western thing or what, but I think it's not necessarily always the bad, right? It's not necessarily that it's like, well, I don't want people to know that my finances are a mess. I think there's also some apprehension like, well, I don't want somebody else to know if I've got a bunch of money in the bank or whatever it is. It's just like, it's a personal thing that we as, I don't know if it's Americans or modern or what it is, but it's just kind of like, that's, it's between me and my bank,
right?
Oh, right. Which is, I think, part of why Wells Fargo has had some issues is because they always kind of seem to be prying. It's like, oh, hey, we noticed this. We can put you into this product. Oh, hey, we noticed that. We can, instead of like, well, no, let's just keep this very, professional, short,
Right.
not get into it too much.
And, regardless of what bank it is, let's face it, financial institutions are a business, and they have a service that they have to provide. As a branch manager for U.S. Bank, and as 4 years in total, I understood the need that we had to sell stuff. And anytime, here's the thing, anytime somebody has a financial gain from some of the most intimate places of your life and interacting within that space, there is a natural guard that we should have up. And as consumers, if we don't, then we're subject to the unfortunate situation of predatory actions by, and not saying Wells Fargo is predatory, but there's predators out there for our money.
Oh, yeah.
And we have to be protected against that. But it's really unfortunate because it does cause, I would say that folks are less likely to succeed financially that are on that median income scale, maybe lower middle class. They're less likely to succeed financially because they're the most susceptible to that predation. And so it really takes being able to trust somebody that, word of mouth referrals are the best. Talk to your friends and family, talk to your trusted real estate advisors if you're going through a financial purchase or, home renovation, whatever it is, and ask them who you should go talk to, and they're going to point you in the right direction. But there should be a natural apprehension. It's our job. It's a part of the business to get over it.
And I think part of it too is that, okay, well, maybe the process is going to be a 3-year process, and then, versus, well, it's never going to happen. There's just no way. Or I think maybe young married couples go in and assume we can't afford a house right now. Why would we even bother? It's not on their radar, to even think to go talk to someone and check it out and see if maybe it is. But
Yeah. That's interesting. Well, I think too that one of the things that we've talked about before is that it's weird because a lot of times I think people are more likely to trust, not necessarily trust, but entrust their finances or knowledge about their finances to some faceless, online banking portal or somebody on a phone tree in New Jersey or whatever.
Because
and they don't really want somebody who they do bump into all the time to know about their finances, right? But how backwards is that, right? It's like, wouldn't you want somebody who you are going to see, who is accountable to you, and who actually genuinely cares about you to help you through that?
Totally. Here's the thing is we don't want to be judged as humans. So if we're overspending, if we have too much money and we're living modestly and we really appreciate that privacy and somebody gets to see behind the curtains, man, we just feel exposed. And in America, you're right. You're 100% right. It might be a Western thing. We're very private, especially the Western parts of the United States. We want our space geographically from our neighbors. From
fences up.
We put yes, all of those things. So we want that natural layer of just protection and want to be able to control control who knows what and what they see. We don't want the truth coming out. And I think that just falls back into the innate characteristics of being a human being, right? We're all broken in some way. We don't want anybody else to know about it.
Yeah, that's true. What about, what is unique about, or I guess, how did you choose Summit?
Ooh, that's a great question.
So you were with U.S. Bank,
yeah,
managing U.S. Bank after ranching and everything else that you've been doing.
Yeah.
What brought you to Summit Funding? Because I think for a lot of people around here, that's kind of a new name, newer name anyway.
Sure, yeah.
Less now that you've been all over social media and getting involved everywhere. People know it now, but yeah, what brought you to Summit?
Well, I guess it's relevant to start with why I left managing a bank first, to just add some context to why I left U.S. Bank in general. So retail banking, if you think about it, and if any listeners are thinking about it, and you ask yourself, when's the last time you went to your bank? I would say the majority of us probably interact with their bank very, very little in person. We're doing it on our phones or our computers or at the ATM, where 90% of the services can be, a click away. And I saw that happening. I saw that my transaction count started to really deplete. The bank was still profitable by all means, but staffing got shorter and shorter, and so I just saw that the writing was on the wall. This is not sustainable. So I decided to get into a niche, get specialized in something that creates more value for me, because I don't have a college degree. I'm a dumb farm kid, right? And so
Farming takes a lot of knowledge.
it does, but I was about as smart as the rocks I was picking from the fields. And so being able to go into something that I could have some specialized knowledge in was going to be a protective layer for me, and mortgage was just natural. So got into mortgage lending, and at U.S. Bank, as a branch manager, my focus was on the coaching and development of my staff and the education and sales within my customer base. It wasn't the same way on the mortgage side. So it was, here's a laptop, here's some resources that you can go read, go sell some mortgages. And there was a few interactions that went really sideways because of the lack of development that I had. And it was really challenging. You put countless hours in trying to make, a square peg fit into a round hole. It come to find out it's not going to work at the end. And then you have community members that are, really upset at you. And there's a natural learning curve, sure, but there just wasn't the inflow of information. And so I was doing my very best and trying to get out there and make a name for myself. And I was approached by my sales manager, branch manager for Summit Funding, and said, hey, you were referred to me as a potential candidate for a role that I have up here that we're expanding the business. And after consulting with my stepmother, who's a 20-year mortgage lender down in the Treasure Valley area, and my dad's, who's a realtor, we found out that Summit's a great company and they really deliver on their promises. And so I made the switch. It went from playing Nintendo to actually driving Formula One is kind of how it felt. And it was all of that and more.
Wow. And they're in Lewiston.
Yeah.
They were. And you were the first person up here in Moscow?
Yeah. So first hire for Moscow specifically, my branch manager does still do business up here. Mm-hmm. So this was just an extension of her established relationships that she had, and we kind of fleshed out the market a little bit. So it's been a lot of fun. Summit Funding's a great company, but I'm interested on your guys' end of things. So Kestrel Realty Group, very tangible brand. And I have to say, that was one of the things that I continue to admire about your guys' company. Kestrel Country, the brand, is super relevant to this region and tangible to the consumer. It feels like I would go and buy a Kestrel Country t-shirt if it was at, Walmart or wherever it was,
They're at Storm Cellar.
They are Storm. Oh, well, yeah.
Well, actually,
they might be sold out.
We need to ask Austin.
Storm Cellar and Bully for you. Yeah.
Shot my first whitetail buck up here with my Kestrel Country shirt on. I mean, it was awesome. So tell me, what gave you guys the inspiration to start this, and what gave you the direction on the brand?
So to start Kestrel Country.
Yeah.
Yeah, really it came out of our love for the area, and we're in real estate. You're always kind of talking to people, especially from outside of the area, about the area, what is there to do there? What's the town like? And we just really love it and wanted to be able to promote it in a way that, that fit with us and what we like to do. And so, really it was kind of just that, wanting to brand.
It was an organic, I think, happening really. Because, Mike's from Michigan. Mm-hmm. So where we even got Kestrel Country, I'm from Moscow.
Okay, yeah.
I'm fifth generation, so just gotta say that.
Some roots.
Yeah.
So she's one of those people that's kind of local.
Might have given
because she's been here for 5 generations, but barely.
Just a little bit.
Really.
Yeah.
But in Michigan, there's a company called Cherry Republic. And so when we were going to make our first t-shirt, just for the Kestrel Realty Group t-shirt, somehow that's where we were thinking through the name.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It was more of, we wanted a t-shirt, but it was like, is somebody going to wear a Kestrel Realty Group t-shirt?
Sure.
Yeah, probably not. But, how do we do something that's more about the area that people can get excited about?
Nice.
And so that was originally first that came up with that idea of just Kestrel Country, and we had Kestrel Realty Group on the back of it,
right?
As just a way of hey, this is something that I would want to wear.
And that's where Cherry Republic came from. This company back in Michigan. So they had branded themselves as Cherry Republic, and it's all about Michigan cherries and everything cherry, And so I think that was part of the idea of where we got Kestrel Country to come from. Anyways, and so that started the first T-shirt. And then Kestrel Country kind of kept on growing, and it still is. And now we've morphed into the podcast to talk about the people, places, and events. So we'll just see where it keeps going.
Yeah, it's kind of what you said at the beginning, right? About getting involved in the community. and, finding ways to add value to your community and build those relationships. That's what we see it as a vehicle for, and just getting involved. And there are so many opportunities in this small town in North Idaho. That's what we're finding as we continue with the journeys. Like, there's just all kind with the Latah County Historical Society and the Kenworthy, and there's just so many great community events and so many interesting people. Like I said, it's just this place that, because of the universities, because of the geography, because of the history of timber and agriculture, just a really diverse place. And there's tons of interesting people and interesting things going on. And we just want to be able to share that with other people, not necessarily import tons of people and make this place blow up and grow and grow and grow, but more just celebrating and, pushing out all these little things that are right in our backyard that are easy to overlook. Yeah,
exactly.
I don't know. I think being from Detroit, it was like when people would come and visit is the only time when you would be like, oh yeah, let's go do this or that. Let's go see the Henry Ford Museum or whatever. Like, it's easy to not think about and celebrate the things that to you are kind of mundane. Like, they're just in your backyard. Yeah. And yet there are so many amazing things right here. We had the comment early on, like, well, are you going to have enough to talk about on this podcast?
Oh, goodness.
It's like, we could go forever for the rest of our lives, because every little place in this town is interesting in this area. Every person's interesting. It's like, even somebody who does mortgages can be interesting, right? It's like,
well, I mean, maybe,
because everybody's got an interesting story about how they got here, what they're doing, and it's just, people are interesting. So
and it makes up the history of the town. All of it does. And I think when Mike moved here, it really, I was susceptible to his same thing for Detroit. It's like, well, actually, I haven't done that thing over here, or I haven't hiked Kamiak. I have hiked Kamiak. But I'm just saying that I hadn't until, I don't know, it wasn't that long ago.
It can be like those finances. It's like the dirty secret that, like, you know what, I actually haven't done this or that, and it's right in my backyard. Like, how can I not do that? Yeah. And so that's part of the thing that's exciting about it.
It's so easy, regardless of what it is in life, whether it's community, creating relationships, or exploring around. If you're not intentional about doing it, business, it's not going to come to you. Right?
Yeah. Well, on that subject, since we've got you here.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you guys have, either places you've gone or events things you've gotten involved in that you're really excited about here? Ooh. Being somebody from the outside, and I've been here for 17 years now, so it's been a while. Yeah. But yet, it's like, what are some things, having been here for 4 years, that you've been to, or what are your favorite spots to hit around this area?
So my wife, Stephanie, and I are big foodies. So we love the restaurants that we have here in town. So unique for a population of this size to have such high quality, not even just the type of food you're eating, but where they're getting their ingredients from. I mean, everybody here in Moscow is super, super focused on healthy, locally sourced, and then quality. And so we love food. We love all the restaurants in town. I'd say Myelina, Tapped, Nectar, Sangria, all of these great restaurants. So we love the food. That was the biggest thing that got us out into Moscow. And my wife, when she hears this, is going to, if I don't say this, then she's going to call me out for it. But I would take people out to lunch all the time at the bank. And she was a stay-at-home mother. So I was eating out at all these nice restaurants, and then we would never go out on dates because I'd be working too much. And so for like the first 2 years that we were here, just a bonehead move as a husband, but we never went out. And so then she went to work, and we started, going on dates and getting childcare, and it's been great. So it's been one of our favorite spots. But I'd say that we went to the Kenworthy's, what is it called?
Their gala?
We went to that, but it's the Copycat film.
Oh, the Copycat.
Oh yeah, you were a judge.
Yes, you were a judge.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun. And so December 4th is our anniversary. January 4th is my birthday. So January 4th is the day that they're going to do that every year. So we loved that.
There you go.
That was a lot of fun.
Yep, that was a lot of fun. Our kids submitted for that. That was really cute.
And the big obvious, right? Yeah, that's right. They did.
Yes, I was really proud of them.
The farmer's market.
Oh yeah, that hands down.
Hands down.
If you come to Moscow, you need to hit the farmer's market.
Yes.
Yeah, no kidding.
The best. Mm-hmm. Can I say it again? The best. It is.
No, but it is, and it's been recognized.
Yeah.
It's just
nationally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Top 10 farmers market in the nation, food, arts, crafts, music, and they're all here. Like a lot of those vendors live here.
Yeah. Well, no,
It's
the
crazy.
food, we were just up in Coeur d'Alene, and we love Coeur d'Alene too, but we were trying to figure out where to go to eat.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, well, we landed on a restaurant, but then Mike's dinner, he's like, this would have been better at Black Cypress.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is. It's amazing when you leave here. You kind of sometimes, as it so often goes in life, you realize what you're missing.
Yeah.
And what you're spoiled with here. But yeah, that's a killer thing.
It is. The restaurants are amazing for the size of the town.
Absolutely. 4th of July here is really unique. The town slows down, but it's almost like the locals come out to play a little bit more. And the temperature of Moscow, the climate here is so pleasant. There's a couple, hot days in August, but 4th of July is great.
Well, I usually see that as the turning point. Like by the 4th of July, usually we're into the good weather.
Yep.
We've had some, you can be cold on the 4th of July and you still need your blankets and all that. But the 4th of July is kind of the turning point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just great. Moscow in the summertime is a totally different town.
You don't want to leave, but that's the secret, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really want to plan your vacations for summer because Moscow in the summer is incredible.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think when I was here originally as a student, after I moved here full time, realized that as a student here, so much of our population, it's a huge part of our population in Moscow, they miss what is like the best. They come and it's kind of like, in the fall
is
it can
pretty.
sometimes be smoky, and then you get into that weather, and then it's, you got the eternal slush.
Yep. Oh my
In the
goodness,
spring, right? We're experiencing that now. And then summers here are unlike almost anywhere else I've ever been. I grew up in Michigan. We got a lot of humidity.
Yeah.
Here it's dry, but it's not super hot. You'll have blue
Cools off at
skies,
night.
sunny days. I mean, it cools off at night. It is incredible.
Yeah.
And the farmers market's going all summer. Yeah.
There's-
It's kind of that secret that you maybe don't want everybody to know about.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like, man, this is killer. And so many things to go do around here in the summer too,
The parks,
Yeah.
we have some amazing parks here. Really well established, what do they call it? The something forest. It's like the interior forest of Moscow. The city has a position just for a forester for the trees that we have within the city limits.
Really?
It's pretty impressive how intentional they are about maintaining the trees that we have inside the city. And so all of our parks have really well-established trees, great shade for the hot part of the day. But you could go have a fire pit and a barbecue almost any day during the summer after the sun goes down, and you're solid.
Yep.
You're not having to stand 50 feet back
Nope.
just for the idea of a fire. And that's farm kids, outdoor kids, we love our fires.
Yeah.
What's tell me about Leadership Moscow.
Ooh.
Not to make a hard transition,
I
but
know.
when
Yeah,
you talked about the trees,
It's true.
it made me think, I know you've been involved with some stuff with the city and everything and with that. So what is Leadership Moscow all about? 'Cause
Yeah.
you're involved with it, right?
So a part of this, I'm first of all an alumni of Leadership Moscow, and then got on the steering committee, which is kind of like the group that organizes what goes on for each class. But Leadership Moscow is an 8-month educational extension of the Chamber of Commerce. It's a program for individuals that are looking to expand their network, grow their capacity as a community member, and understand more in depth what Moscow is about, the history of the major industries that we have here. And it's by far the biggest reason that I grew community professionally was from Leadership Moscow. It was absolutely incredible.
How many years has it been going on?
It was reinvigorated, I believe, in 2016 into 17, and then I was in the 17 to 18 class. It was previously established, and it went on a little hiatus through some changes at the Chamber of Commerce, but then Jenny Ford, I believe, picked it back up in 2016 and 17. So it's amazing. I mean, the classes and the caliber of speakers that we have, from the magistrate judge at Latah County to Ed Schweitzer coming to speak to the class directly, the president of the University of Idaho. I mean, just really high caliber speakers and folks that have been in Moscow. Henry Ann Westberg at the county as well. I mean, just really, really pivotal community members that add so much value, and oftentimes they're behind a curtain that you have no idea how much they're doing to impact your day to day. It's incredible.
So what's the biggest takeaway you've had from that? Is it just that understanding who's involved and what's going on in the community? Or, I mean, it's called Leadership Moscow,
Sure.
right? So is there leadership education with it? Is there...
There is, yeah. So there's, not only are you learning about the history and what's going on currently in Moscow and where Moscow's headed, but you're also talking about the day-to-day leadership principles. And that's something that we've really focused on implementing this year more than any other year, is taking specific hours out of each day. So we meet one day a month for 8 months, full day. And out of that, we'll take an hour to 2 hours to just talk about or focus on leadership development and what that means. And this year, we're really focusing on how we interact as a team. So from an individual, who are you, on a particular spectrum of, let's say, a personality test, but it's much more than that. And then how do you interact with other teammates that are different, alike? If you're a leader managing people in that capacity, what are your tendencies there? How do you really mature as a leader? But I think the biggest thing is leadership comes from the ability to have knowledge and communicate a clear vision. So if you know Moscow, you know where we've been, where we're at, where we're headed, then where you're taking on your own leadership role within the community is you can add value there. So at the end of the 8 months, we have a final project where you find a gap and then you propose whether it's an organization or an activity or a solution to that gap that we have here in Moscow and what that is. So the Moscow Young Professionals, for example, was birthed out of Leadership Moscow.
Oh, really?
As a final presentation by Chloe Rambo previously at the University of Idaho. And so just things like that, I think as community members, that's our role, right? That's the biggest value that we can add to our fellow community members, is to find a gap and add value to it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So where did this, you say the words add value a lot.
Yep.
Where did that come from? Is that something that started with, has that always been kind of a thing for you? Is that since getting into the mortgage world? Just curious about it, because which is great. It's a theme. Like, you hear it a lot, right?
Sure. It's kind of a mission statement for life for me and my family, but I'm pretty sure it was, I started to hear the value talk from Gary Vaynerchuk, right? And his big thing is to add value. That's where I get that disproportionate value statement, right? And so I'm like, okay, what does this actually mean? So when I got into mortgage lending, I'm brand new. It's commission only. People got to send you business. If you're not getting sent business from trusted referral sources, then you're not going to be eaten, And so I thought, well, I'm not an expert at this, but I should do some research. So I went and interviewed realtors and just asked them, what's something that a lender has done in the last 60 days to add value to your business? What do you feel like the title company is doing to add value to your business? And just really trying to find any gap that I could. And then I tried to pack that full of value, so that way somebody would at least say, hey, maybe this guy has something to offer. I think direct sales, and you guys are a prime example of this statement, direct sales are efficient, but not necessarily sustaining. So when you're adding abstract value to the consumer, to whoever you're serving, then you are winning, right? So you're doing a podcast, you're active on social media, you have Kestrel Country brand, you're in swag. Like, that is the abstract value to the direct sales of real estate, which is a huge value to the consumer, by the way, right? To have an advocate through the journey of buying, selling, investing in real estate. But you're adding value beyond that. That's the ticket. So that's what I was looking to do. And it just happened to work. So adding value is something that I find is the only way to continue pressing forward and growing in life. It's not just taking, right? Getting referrals and closing the loans. I mean, any lender that really has drive to do that can do it. I think it takes somebody special and dedicated to add value. And so that's what I want to be known for.
How do you add value to that process? So the loan process, right? So can you educate us just a little bit on the loan process? Somebody who, for people who don't know, we've talked about it's intimidating people. Mm-hmm. What exactly does a loan officer do to add value to that they can't get on Rocket Mortgage or whatever? You hear ads for them on the radio all the time.
Yeah.
Online.
So here's the thing. Local is never going to be the cheapest. And I think that's in all industries. You can always go, actually, for anybody listening, if you're an absolute discount shopper, go to Axos Bank and look at their rates. They're incredible. I mean, not only, they don't even have an origination fee, right? But I went through a journey this year where somebody came to me with a loan estimate from Axos and said, hey, can you beat this? And I said, absolutely not. Like, there's no way that I can beat this. And they said, okay, well, we're really just trying to save as much money as we can on our mortgage. And we found out, after talking to them, we're always thinking of 30-year terms. Well, the likelihood of you staying in a home for 30 years, especially on your first purchase, is very, very, very unlikely. So we first need to set some realistic parameters to that. But so at the end of this is a long answer to your short question, but it's the ability to advocate and hold somebody's hand through the process. And you might think, that's not worth an extra half a point or a quarter point in interest over 30 years, and it probably isn't. But I can tell you that the clients that I serve that are just looking for the lowest rate, we're not going to be a good fit for. The clients that are looking for a relationship and an advocate who can educate you on the things that you don't know, and you don't even know the things that you don't know throughout the process, is, I would say, priceless. So mortgages are one of the top 3 things as Americans that we consider the most stressful experiences in life. One of the top.
What are the other 2? Do you know?
It's death of a significant other, loved one or child, and divorce.
Wow.
So getting a
mortgages
mortgage and
are
mortgages.
right up there.
Yes.
Wow.
So if the way that I see it in anything finance, if you go for the cheapest, you will get what you pay for. You see we all see the General, right? Those like auto insurance commercials, the 800 General now or whatever. So you get pulled over and call the General, they give you insurance so you don't get your SR22 ticket. But I guarantee their coverages aren't what Papineau's are.
Well, and I think,
or Troy.
I think that's what you deal with anything and I think, again, back to Americans, we want the best deal often, or we want the most, that's why all you can eat buffets or anything like that. But what meals are memorable? Well, it's the one that you went and sat down for 3 hours and it was a 8-course meal. And was it expensive? Yeah, it really was. But you're not just paying for that piece of meat on your plate. You're paying for the chef's time where he went and spent however many years training or interning, and not just the chef, but the farmer who raised that cow. Yeah. I mean, so you think about the number of hands and the number of hours that went into the ability to give you an answer.
Sure.
And they can give you that answer within a day or within an hour or right on the phone. That's what you're paying for.
Well, and how much is your time and your stress worth too, right? So it's like, I was thinking about that in terms of plumbing, because I was just working on a sump pump all weekend, right? It's like, yeah, you could save so much money by doing plumbing yourself, but the time it takes to go to, Moscow building 15 times because you didn't get the right thing. And then the stress of, is it going to hold up? Or am I going to have a leak?
Right.
The protection of being able to call. It's like, those are the reasons why you hire a trusted professional, right? And that's, and that's where you get that, and where you have, like you were talking about, the accountability of somebody who you can trust to help you through it, and who you can find and who is going to pick up the phone when you call, rather than dialing through a phone tree,
and not
to
available
just get
on the
passed
weekends.
around.
All of a sudden you're stuck.
So true. And this is kind of the selfish pitch moment, right? That client that brought me the loan estimate from Axos Bank, we ended up closing the loan for because of the fact that we went above and beyond to serve that client. Now, the thing is that 98.7% of all mortgages we did in 2019 were on time and smooth closings. And what that means is, on the date the purchase and sale agreement was originally agreed upon, we closed the loan. So if you're going into the biggest financial investment of your life, and you have, let's say, a sale on the other end of that, so the sellers are buying another house and they need the proceeds from the sale of that current home to be able to close on the other house, it can create an endless domino effect. You're going through a lot of stress. Your job all day is not to manage the mortgage process, which has thousands of micro steps that have huge weight each step of the way, right? So having somebody that can do that and focus on your loan and make sure you're being educated and meet you after hours and, buy you the cup of coffee that you need to settle down. And when you're a first-time buyer, the freak out that you're going to have along the way that 90% of first-time buyers have, having somebody there as an advocate for you that you actually trust. I say that most of my clients come in as clients and leave as friends is true because of that process. And the reason that we can close 98.7% of our loans on time and smooth is because of the fact that we pay for good underwriters that are all yes-minded to find solutions where we, even if a file blows up, we find a solution for it. That doesn't happen when you're dealing with a volume or a wholesale lender where you're a number on a checkboard. Yep. So it's just the right client. We're not here for everybody. We want to be the best for the ones we do serve, though.
Yeah. And are you, so you mentioned commission based, right? I don't think people really understand how mortgage lenders get paid. If somebody wants to come and talk to you about just, hey, I'm interested in knowing about my options, that kind of thing. Do you charge for that? Is that
not at all?
Pay?
No. Thanks for asking that, Mike. That's a great question. No. So loan officers are paid by the company after closing and not until then. And I would say most loan officers, local loan officers, are on commission only income. So they close the loan, they get paid. All of the time up to that point is there's no compensation for that. So there's a high level of investment that they have in getting your loan closed. But yeah, that's a great question. The same for you guys, right? I mean, realtors, typically they don't have any base income.
Yeah, I just think I think most people understand that with realtors. Maybe not, but I think sometimes it's like the apprehension of going and talking to somebody at a bank. You're not at a traditional bank, but still it's like, well, am I,
is it like a lawyer?
I'm taking their time up. Are they going to want to talk to me? Are they going to help me? I'm not really ready. It's like, that's one of the things we've encouraged. It's like, just go talk to him. Go meet Brandon. Go talk to him and just understand the process. And then more. If at the end of the day, that's all it is, you just get educated. Well, great.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thanks, Brandon.
Great conversation. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for
we'll have to
joining
have
us.
you on again and talk maybe a little bit more about mortgages, but mostly about ranching. I'd love to hear some more stories about that. And we kind of ran out of time, but we'll get you on again.
That sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for joining us. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next week.